Hi, everyone. Good morning or good afternoon. So I'm just going to wait a minute for everyone to get in to the event before I start. Okay. So today we're going to explore the fascinating intersection of behavioral psychology and game design. And we're going to be focusing on biases and how they play both a conscious and unconscious role in shaping our narratives and gameplay experiences. So let's continue. This is the slide for the legal team. We're going to go over the neuroscience of bias. We're going to talk about the real life examples and what you can find in gaming. And then we're going to go to an exciting activity where you get to actually build your own evil game. So this topic is super important to my colleague Natasha and I apologize. Natasha had an emergency come up and couldn't make it today. But we have, both of us are neurodiverse. My kids are neurodiverse. My husband's neurodiverse. My cat is neurodiverse, I think. I mean, it's just... so one of the things that we really tried to think about is how can we build products more inclusively? And that really brought us down this road of understanding not only just building products for neurodivergent folks and people in different markets like international UX, but also like what are our biases that are getting in our way and preventing us and acting as barriers for us to be able to really bring in voices and different viewpoints. So in gaming, we've made great progress. And you can tell just in the employee population that we are really like working forward to having a more diverse employee population, but we can also tell that like there's still work to be done, especially in the representation in games. So how characters are developed and how they're represented in games. And unfortunately, some of this racial bias is baked in, and oftentimes it is unintentionally. And part of that is not having these underrepresented groups at the table designing with us and building games with us, and going to those populations and doing co-design or participatory research. When we meet someone, it takes 120 milliseconds for the brain to categorize someone and tie that person to age, race, and gender. And part of that is from an evolutionary point of view, where that was like the brain shortcut in trying to identify people and try to figure out if they were someone who you knew or didn't know, or if you're familiar with or not. And so biases are actually, like I mentioned before, they form inside of our brain. In the particular areas is this hippocampus area. And this is the area where the connections and stereotypes are made. And then there's the area of the brain, the prefrontal cortex. And this is the area that is all of our executive functioning. And so that is the part that actually helps us mitigate against these biases. And I'm going to give you a quick trick. If you want to activate parts of your brain, you're able to do that. Any type of a meditation will actually start to activate that prefrontal cortex and can actually help you mitigate biases. So it's kind of an interesting way of, remaining present, not attaching your own kind of narrative to what you're seeing, and being able to see if you can kind of like have a more realistic kind of point of view. It's really helpful for being able to understand what biases you might be bringing, either in character development, or when you're trying to think of like how certain aspects of the game should be developed. Okay, so we know that AI has had a big influence on gaming, and it's been this way for a long time. You probably recognize some of these games. It started off with NIM in the 1950s, which is kind of crazy to think about. And then the most recent games have really pushed the envelope in terms of AI, Gen AI, being able to produce new worlds, which are really interesting, like in games like Oasis, games that allow non-playable characters to interact with you in different ways, to create dialogue in different ways depending on what you're doing. It's really getting to be more immersive and more realistic in a way. So, AI is definitely a key partner in game development. It is important to think about all of the different touch points in which you can use AI and leverage AI, and also be cognizant of the algorithmic. Sorry, this is like me trying to talk after not getting any sleep last night, and data biases. So what we've been able to see is there are biases stemming from underlying AI models and data used in development. So algorithmic, again, I'm not able to pronounce that word today, or favoring certain groups or behaviors in matchmaking and in-game systems. So an example of that is like there are certain games where AI is used to pair like high spending players with less skilled opponents to encourage spending. I won't name those games. Also, model and data bias, so training on skewed data sets that perpetuate stereotypes. So a lot of what these models were trained on were developed by a dominant culture, and it just because they were accessible online and for companies to be able to access and train their models. So important to think about that as we are using AI, especially in that storytelling, that storytelling phase. So, for instance, I want to cite a study that was done recently. It was presented at HAI at Stanford University on how they used like 14 different models and gave it the prompt of write a story where a social worker is fighting for resources for her client, and provide names and the identity, the demographic of like the ethnic identity of the two different characters, the client and the social worker. And what they found is that predominantly the social worker was made white and had a very European sounding name, and the client was described by the different models as being Black and having the name Jamal. So this is just to give you a little bit of a window into that bias that can occur. So we also see a selection bias. So this happens when you're not able to get diversity in the participants that you would like to recruit. And that can definitely happen in gaming because typically you'll send out a request for recruitment and you'll get a lot of responses from the population that's pretty hardcore about gaming. And so you might hear from the loudest voices and not hear from people who may not be that extroverted. The Hawthorne effect bias. So players altering their behavior when they know they're being observed. So an example is testers overly emphasizing mechanics they think are evaluated. So what that really means is like during, if you are recruiting participants, they may be more focused and more acutely aware that they are being watched. And so you will see them make less mistakes. And that environment is more artificial than if they were on their own in a natural environment playing the game. Okay, so let's get to the game. So we are not going to do the part where we assign you a Zoom meeting room. So everyone's going to be in one room. And you'll have actually a little bit more than 10 minutes, but about 10 minutes to create an evil game. So there is a base game for you to start with, Pac-Man. And you might actually have remembered seeing Pac-Man in like the AI history and gaming. So it's kind of like a little nod to that. But Pac-Man is something that a lot of people are familiar with. You're definitely welcome to, use other, references if you don't want to use Pac-Man. And you don't need to, you're going to be able to use, you can either write things out, you can add graphics, but what you're going to do is you're going to take a bias and you're going to make an evil game using that bias. So I'll show you some examples here. So here in this bias, this is like Flappy Bird. I'm not sure if anyone out here has played Flappy Bird, but the bird, if the bird dies more than 5 times, it can enhance the bird's abilities to drag bird rather than tap, but the pipes are significantly closer, so it's nearly impossible to get through. And so the bias that this is leveraging to get gamers hooked is that illusion of control and overconfidence bias, because what will game developers really try to leverage psychology when they're coming up with their storylines and how the game's going to get played in the gameplay. So leveraging that illusion of control, knowing that people are going to think this is super easy to do, I can definitely do it. They have created a game. So you can have something like this, could have another enemy following you. The next one is like a poker game. So this is, again, overconfidence effect. And so there's minimal chances to win, like with poker games. And so say there's 100 levels in the game. The first 25 games will have a 50% probability of winning, and the wins will have a pattern establish a bias, and will give back double the invested amount. So for example, a pattern of cards such as 2 of a kind or 3 will give a win. So again, this is leveraging this overconfidence and restraint bias where people feel like, they get hooked on playing like any type of other type poker type game. Okay, so I am going to allow people to go ahead. You can use your phone for this. You can also go to this, URL right here. And then I'm going to open this up. Here. And hopefully everyone can start seeing this and people can start getting in. Does anyone have any issues? Okay, cool. I see some people getting in. Great. All right. So here is your virtual space. Grab a virtual space and call it your own. Yes, Vivian, cool. Yeah, make that your own. Yes, go Isabel, make it your own. And go ahead and take one of these bias prompts and start kind of noodling and creating your game here. If you have any questions, you can put it in the chat. Oh, I see chats now. Oh, cool. Yeah, Flappy Bird is an awesome game. Cool. So I'm going to give everyone 10 minutes. If you have any questions, just get in the chat and I can walk you through it. So I'm just going to come over here and see if anyone's creating anything. I think people are thinking about stuff right now. And again, this isn't a test. So it might be something that you want to like come back to later. This is kind of a fun one, an evil game of Clue. So another thing about this is that it's okay if you are drawing and you're like, wow, this is awful. Like, this is not a test on people's artistic capabilities. So I'm just gonna like draw a little screen here. As you can see, it's not a art test. But what we would probably do, and if we were designing the game, is here you are, let's say you're playing with other people and no one knows who the killer is. And maybe we give you a window here where you could decide, and I don't know how many people are big Clue fans. Oh, this is just a terrible rope. Maybe you decide you can do the lead pipe, the rope, there's like the gun. And maybe in this situation that you have the ability to personalize the weapon here, right? Maybe we're gonna try to like upcharge you for the gun. Right? Knowing that, oh wow, like I'm playing with my friends, like do I really want to come in with like this metal pipe? Like that doesn't sound like that's going to be really exciting. Like maybe it should be like the gun or something. Or maybe there's like, you get maybe we allow you to I don't know, customize some aspect of the game where you could throw people for a loop. So if you're playing against someone, maybe you can throw them for a loop and like you could be invisible. So as you're like, invisibility, you're playing the game and knowing that people want to knowing that people would want to like make the game even more exciting, they might like be attracted to having like this invisibility piece. All right, so we are running up at the very end. I do want to see if there's like any questions. Does anyone have any questions about the presentation? Questions about the about biases and how they're used? I'm just going to back up here and see if there's anyone who was able to make something that they might want to show off. I see you, Jonathan, over there. Okay. Oh, cool. Cool, Vivian. Let's see it. So, Vivian, a board game similar to Monopoly where you have to pay various sums to get a specific place the player wants to land on. the most desirable the spot, the higher the price. Other players can also snipe the spot and outbid other players. That's cool. A spy whodunit game based on points system and sabotaging the spy's goals by swapping certain objects in an enclosed room, e.g. spy's goal is to steal an important document and the saboteur needs to get in first to take it and replace it with a banana or something ridiculous. Vivian, are you working for the gaming industry now? These are great ideas. I think maybe we should talk later. A racing game where you have to do microtransactions mid-race in order to get more speed to win. Cool. Yeah, that would be a really good one, actually. I love them. These are great. Please. Aw, well, you're doing great, Vivian. So please connect on LinkedIn. And yeah, I've had a really great time here. And if you want to come back to the board, please feel free, or if you want to like share it out with people to take this on. We are eventually going to have like a little email that goes out to people who want to connect with us, and we'll have like examples of what people have made in the past that we can share out. Oh yeah, you can stay connected with me. You know, I'm gonna plug one last thing since I've got 44 eyes on me right now. Natasha, who wanted to be here, had to not make it today because of an emergency. And I have started our own company called Brightly Loop, and we are building AI-powered products that help designers make their products more neurodivergent friendly. And oh no, Sims. More neurodivergent friendly. And we're launching next week. So, you know, I'll put in something in LinkedIn, people. And if, you know, you're here, like, message me. I'll put you on as a beta tester. You can use it for free. And we'll have more. It's basically like getting so with the neurodivergent tool, we're having more. So we'll have a marketplace for people to come. If you're building a website for Japan, you can go there and you can get feedback on your design work and how it would resonate with the Japanese market. If you're building a product for India, so it's basically like creating a democratized way of getting consultancy advice that's all coming from research-backed data. So we actually have a partnership with George Mason University. It's called Brightly Loop, Elijah. So we have a partnership with George Mason University, and they are testing our products and making sure that the data you get has actually been vetted, and it will definitely help you in your design, in your design journey. So yeah, that's new coming out. And thanks everyone for being here, and love to connect later. Thank you.